The Sports Generals are on patrol. A salute to you. I'm Unger to the Max. Jason, the official host of official Manalytics as usual, will be joining us shortly. He's just getting set up at the moment. But before we get into today's episode, or into the meat and bones, I should say, of today's episode, make sure you subscribe to the Sports Channels on YouTube and follow the So What's the Catch Facebook page. That way you won't miss any of our content from this show or from our sibling show, So What's the Catch, which you will see an episode of that tomorrow at 2 p.m. with me, Brian, and Chirk Berserk, the wild card. So stay tuned for that one. So, also before we get into the meat and bones, I want to give you your next clue. So, last week's clue as to what's happening on August 24th was the phrase half dead. This week's clue is just a color, black. That's it. So your first two clues are half dead and black. Okay? I will continue to give you clues, and then on the show before August 24th, so let me look that up on my calendar. So that would be Thursday, August 18th. I will tell you what all the clues mean and how they relate to what's happening on August 24th. So, let's get into today's show. And perfect timing, because there you are. What's up?
What's going on, man?
Not too much. I just gave the clue for the next clue for what's happening on August 24th. This week's clue is the color black.
Okay.
Yep.
It's dark.
Last week's clue was half dead. This week's clue is just the color black. And as I just said, on August 18th, I'll give the final clue, and then I'll tell you what all these clues mean and explain why they go with what the event is.
Sound like a plan.
Anyway, so we got some NFL stuff to talk about. We'll get to the Kyler Murray stuff in a minute, but the Cleveland Browns signed Josh Rosen.
That's your boy.
No, he's not.
That's weird, right? Not weird, but it is a head scratcher. It makes you think.
It definitely makes you think. I'm just like, his skill set does not go with any of the quarterbacks in the quarterback room. Jacoby Brissett is a mobile, athletic quarterback. Deshaun Watson, albeit he's probably going to be suspended, he's a mobile, athletic quarterback.
Right.
Josh Dobbs, our third string quarterback, if he ever sees the field, then we have serious issues. But what is he? He's a mobile, athletic quarterback. I don't see Josh Rosen as a mobile, athletic quarterback. Do you?
Absolutely not. Never seen Josh Rosen as a mobile quarterback, but if we think about it, Baker was a little bit more mobile than he was. So again, it is a head scratcher, but this was just more of a insurance policy to make sure, just in case we have Watson suspended for quite a few games, and let's just hypothetically say that the backup quarterback ends up getting injured, then we can have Rosen step in. But this is just an insurance policy at all, but it still makes me question what's going on.
Yeah, clearly he didn't work out when he was drafted in Arizona, and then I think he was with Tampa Bay for a bit. Then I'm pretty sure last season he was with Atlanta. So
And I think he went
definitely
to
a
Miami too. He went to Miami also, I believe.
yes, you're right. He
Mm,
got traded from Arizona to Miami. You're right.
mm.
So definitely a head scratcher.
Yeah, it's just again, it is a hair scratcher. But what this is really saying, right? Josh Rosen was, I believe, the fifth quarterback selector or the fifth player, or he's within the top 10, I believe.
Yeah,
But still same draft as Baker Mayfield. So I don't know, man. I guess that's why they get paid the big bucks to make these type of decisions, and they know something that we don't know.
true. That is a very true point. Um, let's see. I'm looking up the draft right now, seeing if I can. All right, so we know Baker was one. Okay, see, there's Saquon. Sam Darnold was the second quarterback taken. He went number 3 overall to the Jets, and then after that was Denzel Ward.
Mm. Two
Then it
top
was
five. Man, that's amazing.
Bradley Chubb to the Broncos,
Mm-hmm.
and then Josh
Stick with
Allen to
yeah.
Buffalo.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
And I know he was
So
like top 10. He was top 10.
yeah,
Yeah. It's just crazy though, man. It's just and of course it's easy to say, oh, geez, how did Josh Allen go number 6? You know what I mean? But no one knows this come draft day. We all
yeah,
taking a gamble, and yeah, that's the way the chips feel.
for sure. Um, although I thought Quentin Nelson went number 6 overall. So all right, here we go. Now I got the actual complete results. So now I'll have an accurate thing because, all right, it went Baker Mayfield 1, Saquon
Mm-hmm.
Barkley 2, Sam Darnold 3, Denzel
Mm-hmm.
Ward 4,
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Chubb 5, Quentin Nelson 6, Josh Allen 7, Roquan
Mm-hmm.
Roquan Smith 8, Mike McGlinchey 9, Josh Rosen went 10.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's all I really can say is wow. And all of those teams that took quarterbacks over Josh Allen. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, the teams that took the Browns and the Jets, because the Browns took Baker Mayfield number 1 overall, and the Jets took Sam Darnold number 3 overall.
Mm.
Like, it's easy to look back now and be like, what the heck were you doing? But
Right. Right.
I am very curious. Like, what is Buffalo's offense going to look like? Because they don't have Brian Daboll anymore. He went to the
That's true.
Giants.
That's very true. They don't have him at all. However, when you have one of those franchise quarterbacks, those once in a generation type of talents, such as they do, um, it is kind of easy to, I guess, transition to the next coordinator. And Josh Allen still got the tools. Doesn't matter really who the coordinator is. If he's out there and he has the flexibility to change the plays at the line of scrimmage, or if he just has to improvise and come up with some impromptu type of move, he's going to do that. And he has the tools, the weapons in place to make that happen. So it shouldn't be that difficult for them to pick right back up.
Yeah, I think there will be somewhat of a drop off, but I
Hmm.
don't think like a drastic drop off. Like, I'm not anticipating that Buffalo is suddenly going to fall to like third place in the AFC East or something like that.
And I
You
know,
know.
this might be a little bit over your age, but there was a time when Brian Dable was actually our offensive coordinator, and you know, it was a lot of head scratching moves that he usually would make. However, he was still a decent play caller, and he was here during uh, the 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 Mangini era slash going into the next regime. But he was here, and will it be that massive of a drop off? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I remember the Mangini era in like the early
Hmm.
2000s, like 2010, something
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember the game I remember most from. There are two games I remember the most, or no, the I have three games that I remember the most from the early 2000s to like the 2010s with the Browns. The Monday Night Football home game against the Giants. I think that was in the '07 season, or it might
I
have been
think
'08.
so. I think so. I think so.
It was either '07 or '08, but I know the Browns won that game.
Hmm.
And then I remember the game against the Saints in New Orleans with the fake punt where
Hmm.
we would go on to beat the Saints. And then the other game I remember is from the 2010 season when we dismantled the Patriots.
Yeah, shockingly. And it was a dismantling at least.
Yes. Peyton Hillis ended up being on the Madden cover, and good God, we haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, but he had a hell of a season that year. I mean, again, no one even knew who he was prior to coming into that season. I know he played a couple of years with the Broncos, but hey, man, when he was here, he was just making stuff happen. Some like to credit a lot of his yards and pretty much a lot of his success to Shanahan, because Shanahan also was here in Berea, doing some of the play calling. But yeah, it was a magical season, and he did get the cover of Madden, so we got to tip our hat to that.
Yep, and then he got hit with the Madden curse
Mm.
badly. Because,
Significantly.
yeah, that's one of the worst cases of the Madden curse I have ever seen. Good
Yeah,
God.
that was a tough. Well, it was one of because Dante Culpepper, he man, he vanished too. So it's the man curse is real.
Oh, yeah. Look at what happened to Antonio Brown after he would with the with the Madden cover or Madden
It's
curse.
it's only one person I could think of that actually survived the man curse, which was Pat Mahomes. And man, that's even more of a reason why he's probably one of the best quarterbacks today. So he defeated the man curse. I'm not sure if the man curse lingers around and makes sure that it gets even with him, but hey, he's the only person that I could think of that really didn't get impacted by that.
Yeah, Mahomes and Brady were on the same cover for a Madden recently, weren't they?
Yeah, but then that was the same season I believe Brady did not make the Super Bowl. So
No, he was with the was that the year he
yeah,
was
he's with
with
the
the Buck?
Patriots, I believe. He was with the Patriots.
No, I think he was. No, he was with the Buccaneers.
This is the Buccaneers. I tell you this for the viewers at home, we'll get confirmation on this. But again, Mahomes, he still ended up getting to the Super Bowl.
I just realized I never got confirmation on if any team has ever beaten all the cat teams in the NFL. I still gotta work on that.
You
Oops.
know what? I woke up this morning and I said, you know what? We did not get confirmation on that. And I actually reached out to the producers and they told me, hey, we're still searching. So hold tight, buddy.
All right. All right. Nice one. Nice one. Anyway, so in other NFL news, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals signed an extension.
Man, it was a massive extension at that. 200, and it was a $203 million extension, but it's $150 million guaranteed, I believe. Is that correct? I know you got the
I
numbers in front of
believe
you.
so.
Uh-huh. And man, they broke the bank. He is, as of today, because we know this always changes, but today he is the highest paid NFL player per year. So,
Yeah.
congratulations to Kyler Murray and his camp. He got what he was looking to achieve. And man, hey, what can you say?
It was he agreed to a $230.5 million
30.
deal.
Okay. Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
5 year
crazy.
extent 5 year extension.
It's crazy. So in retrospect, it's technically 6 additional years that they're going to have Kyler Murray, because this year, of course, he plays out that final season of the contract. His new contract comes into play next season, and then that's an additional 5 years. And again, you got to tip your hat to the Cardinals. They had to pay the money. They had to do what they had to do. Yes, it sounds like a big amount, but if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, let's say in about 2 years or 3 years, he'll probably be like the fourth highest paid player in the NFL. So this number is always going to change. It's just a benchmark pretty much to set for the agents to negotiate these contracts. But he's still he has the tools any given Sunday to win. We've seen that from him. Yes, they started off hot last season and then kind of soured out or fizzled out during the end of the season. But any given Sunday, he can beat you. And he has his legs, he has his arm, and he has his wit. So,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah, we will see him and the Cardinals in 2024, I believe here here in Cleveland, if I'm remember the schedule right. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But what do you think that quarterback out in Baltimore, Maryland is thinking? Because he's now seen Deshaun Watson get the type of extension
Hmm.
he did. Now he's seeing Kyler Murray get this type of contract extension. What is number 8 in purple in Baltimore, Maryland thinking?
It's two things, and we're talking about Lamar Jackson for those that's following us. It's a song that comes to my mind by Chief Keef. It's called "Ha Ha Ha Ha," laughing at the bank, right? And that's exactly what Lamar Jackson is believing, because you got to think about this. He's in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. Um, we have Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns, and then you have Joe Burrow with Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh, they got to figure that part out. But that's one of the toughest divisions in football. So the Baltimore has to pay him, right? They have to. I mean, unfortunately, yes, and when we say we, Jimmy Haslam opened up the can of worms for all of the owners throughout the league with this guaranteed money when he paid Deshaun Watson. But if Baltimore wants to contend and stay relevant, they have to pay Lamar Jackson, and there's really no way around that.
Yeah, you are 100% right on that. Here's the problem, though. Everybody's going to say Lamar is not a quarterback. He is a running back.
Mm,
Maybe that's a fair criticism of him. Maybe it's not. I think that whole thing is up for interpretation. But
it is. This is a joke because my rebuttal to those people that would say something like that is this: the guy's won an MVP. The guy's been a multiple Pro Bowler. And I could name on both hands how many times he's led his team back to a victory. And yeah, if you want to say he's a running back, okay, kudos. But I've seen him make some great throws. I've seen him make some of probably one of the toughest decisions to throw in the end zone when Mark Andrews, the tight end, was open, or hitting Hollywood down on a deep route. But the guy's got touch. Is he the most accurate? No, absolutely not. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But the guy is. He has that. He has that it factor, and that it factor is he can win, and you could depend on him to win. Period.
There we go. Um, yeah. You mentioned it, like how tough this AFC North is with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and I don't think that was a fluke run for the Bengals. I think the Bengals are maybe they were a year early, but I think they're here to stay. You got
Hmm.
us with Deshaun Watson. Granted, he'll probably be suspended, so well,
Hmm.
maybe you call this year a wash. We'll see. And then with Pittsburgh, yeah, they have Mitch Trubisky, but with Mike Tomlin as their head coach, they'll somehow get to 8 or 9 wins. Tomlin always seems to figure it out with the Steelers. So you're 100% right. Baltimore has basically no choice but to give Lamar Jackson the contract extension he's seeking. Because if they don't, they're going to end up in last place in this division. No question about it. I know they finished in last place in the division last season, but that's all because they were so banged up. Like it felt like every time a player came back for them, somebody else was going down.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, don't get it twisted. I will hope they don't pay him. I love the drama that they have to deal with, but he's one of the best quarterbacks, bar none, in the NFL. He is a previous MVP winner, so you got to pay the man. Pay the man.
For sure. Um, yeah, this division is just bring your hard hat because it's going to be a defensive battle basically every time. I'm
Pretty
surprised.
much.
Yeah, when we do get like high scoring games in division AFC North matchups, I'm just like, okay, that's not right. It like when I think AFC North football, I think of scores like 20-17, 21-17, 17-14, scores like that, you
Hmm.
know. And maybe that's changing given the offense Cincinnati has and the offense we could have with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. And, again, we don't know what the Steelers' offense is going to look like. I don't, except with Baltimore, I don't think they're capable of playing up high scoring games. We've seen it from them, but that doesn't seem to be their fortitude and MO.
Yeah, we see, and we usually see that from that team early in the season, especially when it's warm outside. But uh, they are, early in the season and known for putting up numbers such as that. But if when you're going to divisional rivals, no, it's not that type of ball game at all. We all have film. We have additional film on each other. It's always going to be a grind out in the AFC North, and there's never going to be a shootout when it comes to playing in foe divisional rivalry. So.
Right. Like, I know we got the 47-42 Monday Night Football game between the Browns and Ravens, like, just a couple seasons ago. But that's what we sports analysts, media people, whatever, like to call an anomaly. Again, that's not what you usually see from the AFC North.
Hmm.
It's just
That's true.
not.
That's true. That's true. If you follow college football, it's same thing. Like if Big Ten, they'll route usually like an out of conference rival or out of conference team. It'll be a discrepancy when it comes to the points. But if they play against Indiana or Northwestern, it's usually a grind out. People like, how the hell did that even happen? It's because they know us and we know them.
Right. Like if Ohio State were to play Akron, Ohio State could probably put up 70 points on them, and maybe Akron gets lucky and scores a touchdown, makes it, I don't know, 70-7.
In the first half.
Yeah. Ohio State will be like, hey, we'll let you score a touchdown. Okay, now go play at the kids' table type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, Ohio State hosts Notre Dame to open the season. That's not going to be, a 54-7 game or 54-3. Notre Dame is coming in being like, hey, we're on your level. You're not just going to push us around.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough one. But Notre Dame do have a rookie head coach. It is a transition that they are going through at South Bend. Uh, Hopefully, that does play in Ohio State's favor. But absolutely, that's going to be a tough game. So it's not going to be a blowout like we playing against Lafayette University or someone of that nature. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a Penn State fan, but I got to admit, when I see like Ohio State is like doing a home and home series with Georgia, or I know they're going to be doing like a home and home series with Alabama, I get excited about that because as a general college football fan, I don't like to see like, Ohio State is playing Arkansas State and it's, a blowout, or Penn State is playing Buffalo and it's not even a
Mhm.
fun game to watch. It's like, if it's a non-conference game, I want it to be a big game. Like when Oregon went to Ohio State, I loved that. I also
Mhm.
loved it because Oregon won. Not gonna lie. um,
So, but no,
sorry.
but no, the thing, no, but you're right though. It is it definitely adds to the prestige of the Big Ten, and again, there has been two additional teams added, which is UCLA and USC. So in a couple of years, we're looking at basically it's going to be a big game every single Saturday. And Notre Dame is also pretty much on the hinges where it's like, hmm, why not? We might as well. Who knows? But if Notre Dame chooses the Big Ten, man, we're talking about a big game every single Saturday in the SEC. Probably do those 4 o'clock games.
Yeah, I think it makes way too much sense for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten. Think about it.
I agree.
Like they had rivalry games for a while with Michigan. They had rivalry games for a while with Michigan State. They
Hmm.
had had a rivalry game basically every year with Purdue. They're playing Ohio State this year, and they're going to play Ohio State again next year. They're in South Bend, Indiana, so, the Indiana Hoosiers are right down the street, or
Right.
or whatever. Uh,
They're around the corner.
what
Hmm. Hmm.
something like that. Same state, whatever. But
Hmm.
I get it. Notre Dame wants to stay independent so they can schedule all the easy games and, play Stanford and all this and that. But it's like, what?
But if you think about it though, Josh, they don't really. It seems like they have easy schedule. But they don't, man, because of them being independent. I know for a fact that they'll probably have like 3 Pac-12 games, 2 Big Ten games, probably one SEC game, right? And then like a Army, Navy, like one of them type of joints. But they usually have some competitive schedules set up for them. So I'm not gonna say that they have cakewalks.
Right, I get that. I can actually look up their schedule. I'll go on to ESPN.com and see if we can find it. Let's see.
Purdue
No.
has some tough schedules though. Like they consistently, and it's because of them being independent. But they do have those. No, they had those schedules that I would expect somebody from the SEC to pick up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So here's the no, that's their player stats. Here we go. Here's their schedule for this year. So they're at Ohio State, then they host Marshall, then they host California. Um, they'll be at North Carolina. They play BYU at a neutral site. Then they host Stanford, host UNLV at Syracuse, home against Clemson, home
ooh,
against yeah, home against Navy, home against Boston College, and then at USC.
yeah, that's about five difficult games, and I'll tell you the one that no one's thinking. Those Syracuse games, you play Syracuse in the middle of the season, and you play them at Syracuse. You hope that you get that victory, and I don't know how they put it off, but Syracuse they be taking out a lot of top tier teams, so I just wouldn't overlook that game at all. But they USC, that's going to be a tough one, and they usually play USC every season. But the Navy is difficult to go against that triple option, and I'm not sure if our viewers understand that, but uh, it takes a lot of discipline, uh, player um, player on player awareness, meaning you got to know who your assignment is at all times, and if you let's say deviate from that, you're looking at a 75-yard run. So it's a grind, but again, we're talking about Notre Dame also. So
Yeah. I mean, at North Carolina is going to be difficult. Home
yeah,
against Clemson, that it's
might
Clemson
lose that. Yeah,
with
gonna take that.
Dabo
Yeah.
Swinney.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go to that game. I, it, but tickets for that game are probably going to be ridiculously expensive, probably way out of my budget. So I can probably kiss that game, but goodbye. Um, yeah. So the way it's set up right now, if Notre Dame were to join a conference, they would join the ACC because their other sports are in the ACC. So they would have to break that contract with the ACC in order to join the Big Ten or join the SEC, whatever.
They got the bag. They can absolutely afford to break that contract. So
Yeah. I don't think they will, though, because they want it. They probably want to remain independent because then they get a deal with NBC. So,
well, but I still think that the deal with NBC. I think that runs at least until like the 2030s, something. And despite who they play, they're still going to be on NBC, which is that's a win-win. Especially if they join the Big Ten, that's a win-win for the Big Ten, and that's going to be consistent as a win-win for Notre Dame. So you know,
well,
yeah,
I don't know if they would remain on NBC if they joined the Big Ten because, Big Ten has their own channel, the Big Ten Network. So,
yeah. They can't afford Notre Dame, and plus they probably had like they'll fill it in with the UCLA game or Notre Dame, I mean, or Northwestern. I'm sure the Big Ten can figure out a game plan to make sure that the NBC contract hold up.
yeah. I mean, it would make more geographical sense for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten than it would for them to join the SEC. Like when Missouri joined the SEC, I'm like, wait, what? That makes no geographical sense whatsoever freaking ever.
When UCLA and UNC, when USC and UCLA joined the Big Ten, that right there let us know. Throw out the geographical sense because that doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah. I Yeah, I was talking with somebody at Ohio Media School today. He's a Michigan State graduate, um, Ted, and I'm like, I can't wait to see how USC and UCLA react when they get off the plane in the middle of November and it to play Minnesota at Minnesota and it's snowing and 20 degrees. Like, how are they going to react to that?
It's going to be an adjustment. But let's also look at this. Playing devil's advocate. Yeah, you might see them in the middle of November, early November, but is you're not going to see them in the heart of winter time. So I would think that they should be prepared for that. But if they're not, hey, you got time, figure it out.
Yeah, like what they can't move out of California and go, oh, well, we're gonna move to I don't know somewhere else and go to snowy conditions. So I will be curious how they like. Let's say they do have at Minnesota right in the middle of winter, because you never know with the Big Ten. Like, how do you prepare for that? Like, what do you do? Go into your indoor facility, do fake snow, make it 20 degrees somehow? What?
They'd be foolish to do so. The only thing they really can do is probably go up north and play a Washington team.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years Oregon, Washington joined the Big Ten. I would not be surprised.
Yeah. You know what? I actually, and I've been giving this a lot of thought. I think we're starting to watch the first dominoes of how the NFL first started, right? When the NFL first started, it was the AFL. AFL and the NFL merged and formed two conferences. But as of today, there's, of course, the even amount of teams on both sides. And I'm starting to think we're going to have two conferences in college football, two major conferences, probably the SEC and the Big Ten. And it's going to be kind of similar to how the NFL was. And it's just that maturation of just how businesses starts to grow and you have to either adapt, like Benny Siegel say, get down or lay down.
Yeah. Um I think I think you could be right, although I've heard that neither conference wants to grow beyond 20. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I don't Have you heard that same thing?
I mean, I hear it, but I don't believe nothing that these conferences telling us because, again, UCLA and USC do not like that. Doesn't make sense at all. Like, and no one can sell me on this notion that they kind of are a Big Ten. No, there's no way in hell that this even makes sense. So the same execs that make these type of decisions, they're telling us this, but man, anytime the money's coming in and those checks is cashing or the cash app sounds is going off, they're gonna keep getting them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the Big 12 is going anywhere. Like, they just added Cincinnati, BYU, Houston. I think UCF also joined. I think the Big 12 also reached out to Oregon and Washington, but doesn't sound like anything happened with that. So,
Yeah. I mean, Big 12 is a dying, and let's just be real about it. Big 12 is dying. Um, I would expect for them to try to make a play for the remaining teams of the Pac-12. And viewers is watching this is like, dang, Jay, how can you be so heartless? Well, it's not that I'm being heartless. It's just these execs, these schools, they've taken so many millions, damn near billions of dollars from these players, from these organs, or for these schools, and then they just use it for their own selfish gain. And the fact that they did not see this coming, that's really that's a them problem because we seen this coming a mile away. They didn't adapt to it. Now they're about to get destroyed by it, and it's really their fault.
That is true, actually. Um, that is 100% true. Like you didn't, like head people, you didn't see this coming. Like when the Big Ten went out and added Nebraska, a few years later they go out and add Maryland and Rutgers. Granted,
Yeah,
granted, I didn't understand why the heck we added Rutgers because they haven't really. No offense, Rutgers, Scarlet Knights or whatever you're called, but you guys haven't added anything to the Big Ten. Maryland, they've added something to the Big Ten in terms of college basketball. Like I really enjoy watching Maryland against Wisconsin, Maryland against Michigan State, Maryland, countless other matchups. I don't really get any type of excitement like, oh, yay, Rutgers is playing Wisconsin in college basketball, or yay, Rutgers is playing Ohio State in college football. I'm just like, yep,
but
Ohio
their
State should.
football program. No, I was gonna say their football program they've got better. They have improved. Maryland basketball team, absolutely, they have prestige just from tradition. They're always going to be a force to reckon with. But in football, Maryland has also started to adapt to that Big Ten style of play, and they're starting to get better. They're starting to pick up their style. But Rutgers, hey, they improved, man. I said the last 2 years, especially was when it was the COVID years. I've seen them take leaps and bounds to where they used to be at. So, hey, you come along, you got to get your got to get your feet dirty. We just wait for Nebraska to join the party. So,
Yeah. Uh, Rutgers actually opens the season at Boston College. Interesting. If you haven't figured it out, I love looking at schedules. There's just something fun about looking at a team's schedule and going, "Ooh, does that road trip make sense?" And there's just something fascinating about it.
I think they'll
Rutgers,
beat Boston. They'll beat Boston.
so Rutgers' schedule is at Boston College. Then they host Wagner. I've never heard of Wagner. Then they're at Temple. They Then they start Big Ten conference play because they host Iowa.
They're gonna
They're
lose that one.
they're at Ohio State.
They're gonna lose.
Then they host Nebraska.
Gonna win that. That's 4-2 right there.
Home against Indiana.
It's gonna be a grind. They might win that though.
At Minnesota. I've got that as a loss.
They're losing it. Yeah, they're gonna lose that one.
Home against Michigan. I've got Michigan romping over them.
I wouldn't say that, my buddy. I think Rucker might pull it off, but we will touch on this conversation when we get close to that game. I'm actually going Rutgers on that one.
Okay. At Michigan State.
They'll lose.
And then there's no way I'm picking Rutgers to win this next game because they're hosting my team, Penn State. No way I'm picking Rutgers. Penn State all day.
Penn State might get that one. But still,
And,
just off of what you named, that's 7 victories.
yeah.
That's solid.
And then they finish up the year at Maryland.
That'll be the we're on TV, so I'm not even gonna say it, but that should be a grind between both of those programs.
Yeah. Like something about like studying schedules and being like, ooh, like when does this team make or go on this road trip, and like I don't know, there's just something fascinating about it. I've always
No,
loved
it's an excellent
that.
thing to do, man. It's a fantasy, right? It's like, sometimes you just close your eyes and say, dang, okay, yeah, it's snowing here in Cleveland. I wish I was in Hawaii right now, or I wish I was in San Diego, right? It's just a fantasy that you have. And that's one of them, man. Them schedules on paper, you just look at it and be like, Ah man, I can't wait to watch that. And then we think the games that's going to be big are they usually be some bum games. So
Yeah. It's also fun, like, you know, you have certain teams that you strongly dislike. You're like, what's the worst road trip I can put together for that team that could give them problems?
man, going that Michigan State game, I know they're going to probably take that L. And the only reason I say that is because again, I think they may be Michigan. They may be a little bit, on their high horses and feeling themselves and get demolished by Michigan State that following week. But I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah. So we can do some Big Ten schedule predictions closer to the start of college football season. I like that idea. Um, Penn State has a bit of a tricky schedule. They're at Purdue to open the season. Purdue's never easy. Then they
Nah.
host Ohio, so Penn State should win that game fairly easily. And then at Auburn, never easy
Oh,
to go into.
they get smoked. I'm sorry, my friend. They can cook.
It, hey, I'm not afraid to say it. It's never easy to go into Jordan Hare and beat the Auburn Tigers. I think Penn State has, if the Nittany Lions can figure out their offense early in the season, they have a chance in that game. But if they lose, they have a get right game the next week against Central Michigan. So, you
Yeah,
know,
they should.
at 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 worst, they'll be 2-2 to open the season. And then they host Northwestern. That could be a trap game,
Yeah,
but as an objective Penn State fan, I'm gonna say they win that game. At Michigan, uh,
might lose
I,
that one.
I think Penn State loses that one. And then, why is this the case? Usually, the whiteout game for Penn State is either when they host Ohio State or when they host Michigan. This year, it's again the whiteout is not against Ohio State. It's against Minnesota.
Yeah,
Why?
they wasting it. Yeah, they wasting. They need to use their whiteout powers for like a tough team because yeah, like you wasting against that could be that should be a 12 p.m. game.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. You're an Ohio State fan. You know I'm a Penn State fan. Do you think Ohio State Penn State is a legitimate rivalry?
The only reason I'm gonna say no is because Ohio State and Michigan, we already got something brewing over here, right? And the amount of distaste, displeasurement I have for the urine and blue team, I could never have it against Penn State. You know what I mean? Like Penn State, yeah, yeah, I understand all of the other stuff that's taking place with them, but they don't have any type of problems with us like we do with Michigan. So I respectfully disagree.
Okay. I will say that the biggest reason I became a Penn State fan actually is obviously I don't condone what happened with Jerry Sandusky and all that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
No,
not. Yeah.
no, no,
That's,
no, no.
yeah.
But watching them overcome everything that happened with that situation, all the negativity and the media and the punishments. Don't need to get into all the details and nitty gritty of it.
Mm,
But watching Penn State, overcome all of that and have, I wouldn't say become a perennial power in college football, but I would say become one of the better teams in college
yeah.
football.
They're respectable. Coach Franklin. I mean, like he is one of top 10 coaches in college football, and it's like you can't really disagree with that. So yeah, they had a windstorm of off the field issues that we're not going to go into, but they have try to rebuild themselves. They uh, basically were rock bottom and worked themselves up. And Coach Franklin is really he's the main focal point of that whole organization, and it's because of him that they've been able to dig themselves out that hole.
Yeah. And that's what really brought me to rooting for Penn State. I'm like, I really like how they've been able to dig themselves out of that hole, overcome everything that came out of that whole mess, and like I said, become one of the better teams in college football. And obviously, I love the whiteout. Oh my God, if I ever could get to a Penn State game to go to a whiteout, that would be amazing.
Better call an Uber driver because it's going to be a tough night.
I,
But them whiteouts, they don't treat Ohio State good, man. I hate those whiteouts.
So you
Seriously.
do have, so you just admitted you do have a little bit of a dislike for Penn State.
A little, but when it comes to Michigan, I'm gonna keep it
Oh,
clean because my mom will be watching this. It's no comparison.
all right, we'll take it after my fellow Ravens YouTuber Ingraven Vids, and we'll go team keep it clean. I know I've cursed a few times on episodes in the past, but we're gonna try and eliminate that now, and we're just gonna try and keep it straight, keep it clean from now on.
PG.
That, unlike WWE, who is supposedly going to TV 14 at some point. When? Don't know. Um, but anyway, so we've got about 10 minutes left in the show.
hmm
I put this at the end of the YouTube video, or when I uploaded last week's episode to YouTube. But after we went off the air, the Suns actually went out and matched the offer sheet from the Pacers to retain DeAndre Ayton. So I
mm.
guess that essentially means, yep, Kevin Durant is not going to Phoenix.
Man, and it also just signals maybe Kevin Durant ain't going nowhere. Maybe he's staying put because all of these moves have been made, and the summer is pretty much over with, right? There's no teams that can afford this ransom that the Nets were requesting. So I think he's going to stay put. I think Kyrie may also be staying put as well.
Yeah, at this point, it sure seems like Kyrie and Kevin Durant are staying put, which I really don't know if that's the best idea
Mhm.
because we'll see if Kevin Durant keeps this attitude of I want to be traded. Because if he does, that's a bad situation for Brooklyn because you're going to have a disgruntled superstar. Oh boy.
But this is one thing we can say about Durant. However angry he is, or however he decides to, let's say, go back and forth on Twitter with burner accounts, however he may feel emotionally, he's still going to put it all on the court. He's still going to play his full effort. He's still not going to get nothing short of that. He may be mad, but he's still going to be out there on the court performing at a high level. Also, we got to keep in mind Ben Simmons still plays there. They still have a team that's in place to at least at the minimum be a bottom three of the NBA and the AFC. I'm sorry, in the AFC in the Eastern Conference. So they have a top three team. Period, man. I think from a legacy standpoint, this is perfect because if he's able, despite this whole offseason and all of the debacles that just took place, if they're somehow able to get to the NBA Finals and win, we're gonna not even remember this. So I think it might be happening because the NBA sports guys is trying to give him a alley oop.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting. You bring up how, if the Nets go on to win the finals this year, we're all going to forget about this. To circle back to the NFL, let's say in 2 years, Deshaun Watson goes out and wins a Super Bowl with the Browns, guess what? Whether we like it or not, we're going to forget about all this sexual harassment stuff. Whether that's the right thing or not, that's just how it is.
In sports, period. When you winning is the biggest mechanism you can use to forget the past. And absolutely, Deshaun Watson win that Super Bowl. I guarantee you it's going to be triple the numbers that it was when the Cavs won. And everybody that was saying how they were just so against the Deshaun Watson move, or they felt some kind of way, when we win that Super Bowl, they're probably going to be in the first, probably close to the stage downtown. I don't know where. Hey, they might have it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who knows? But we're going to have to start figuring that out, and I'm all for it.
Yeah. You're 100% right about that. Like, Ray Lewis, he got in trouble for something. I don't remember what off the top of my head, so forgive me on that one. But
no, it's a 187 murder. He was at a nightclub and something happened. We don't know, but that is what it was all centered around, which is when a 187.
Okay, but nobody really talks about that because he would go on to become one of the greatest linebackers of all time, two-time Super Bowl champion, and Hall of Famer. Ben Roethlisberger. Right, Ben Roethlisberger. I believe he got in trouble for rape. If I correct me, certainly correct.
Sexual abuse. It was actually similar to Deshaun Watson. Well, it wasn't similar because it had nothing to do with massage therapists, but the alleged rumor was that Big Ben tried to take it in a bathroom at a nightclub, but it was all about sexual abuse.
Okay, I thought I had heard it was about rape, so I apologize about that. But either way, like, nobody really talks about that because, again, he would go on to win 2 Super Bowls. One of the greatest Steelers of all time. Not the greatest Steeler. I'm just saying one of the greatest Steelers of all time.
Absolutely.
Future Hall of Famer. Yeah. Nobody's going to talk about the fact that he got in trouble with the law.
Twice. Right.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, he also got in a motorcycle accident too.
Violated his contract, shattered his I think it was his knee, either his knee or his ankle. But still, despite that, the only reason we're talking about it now because you remembered it, right? No one even remembers that. So, yeah.
Exactly. But that's the whole point. Because, you brought up the whole thing with Kevin Durant of, like, if he goes on to win the finals after everything that's going on this offseason, we're all going to forget this. It's the same type of thing with all the other players we just mentioned.
When it makes you forget, when it makes you walk out of a bar, if you have a tab, it just makes you forget, right? If the Lakers win, we're going to forget about this whole Westbrook, LeBron saga that's going on. We'll forget because they won and they're champions. And that's just the nature of the beast. Winning makes you forget. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, the Warriors can win all the championships they want. Us here in Cleveland, we're never going to let them forget that they blew a 3-1 series lead. Nope.
Absolutely not.
No. Sorry, not sorry, Golden State. Cubs fans, they're never going to let Cleveland fans forget that that Cleveland blew a 3-1 lead and Chicago broke their 108-year curse to win a World Series.
And we're not going to forget that Mother Nature had to intervene in that World Series and have a rain delay when we clearly was about to win it. But hey, it is what it is.
All I have to say to you, buddy, is go Cubs, go. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today.
It's almost that time.
Damn. Hey, in my defense, I have been a Chicago Cubs fan since I was little. I'm not one of those bandwagon Cubs fans that started rooting for the team in 2015. No, I have been a diehard Cubs fan
We
for as
forgive you, Jack.
long as I can remember.
We forgive you, my buddy.
But don't worry, I am a diehard Cavaliers fan and a diehard Browns fan, so no worries there. I will root for them any day. I will root for the Cavs any day of the week. I will root for the Browns any day of the week. So don't worry. And the Guardians are my favorite American League team. So it's not like I just completely dismiss them.
Yeah, and and I know we run out of time, but the All-Star game just took place. We had Jose Ramirez and Clace actually represent the Guardians, and he
as
left
well
a
as
remarkable.
Andres Jimenez.
Oh yes, I'm forgetting. I'm sorry about that. Yes, I'm forgetting about him. But man, even though it may have been subpar as far as overall their performance, but man, our closer, we're in good hands, man. That man, he hit the triple digit mark multiple times, and he struck out the side.
Yes, to close it out. And that was actually the American League's 9th consecutive win at the All-Star game.
Wow,
9th
that's wild.
consecutive.
And
Yeah.
they actually, if would you believe me if I told you that they were the underdogs going into this game, which is weird.
Yeah, I could. Woo.
I don't understand how
No,
that's even possible. Yeah.
yeah. National League has not won the All-Star game, I believe, since it was in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City back in 2012, I want to say it was.
And that's
Something
when they
crazy
were
like.
in the AFC. I mean AFC. They was in the American League Central at that time before they went to the NFC, the National League.
Wait, who?
Vice versa, vice versa. I'm sorry about that.
Wait, what are you talking about right now?
The Royals, okay, hold on. Let's think about this because the Brewers
No, the
were
Royals.
also.
The Royals have always been in the American League Central. Are you
It's the
thinking of the
Brewers,
Astros?
I'm thinking of the Brewers and the Astros. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, the Brewers. I'm trying to remember. They've always been in the National League Central for as long as I can remember.
No, that was an American League.
They've been in the national. They were in the National League in 2012.
I don't think so, buddy. But again, we'll have the producers confirm this for us. But no, the Brewers was absolutely in the AFC. Man, if I keep saying AFC one more time.
Good God. Let's see. I'll look this up right now. And looking at the standings from 2012, NL Central. Yep, the Brewers were in the National League Central in 2012.
Damn. Wow. When was they in? They were in the American League, though. I'm not lying, guys.
I have no idea. But the Astros made. I know the Astros made the jump to the American League at one point. I don't remember when. But anyway, that's it. We are over the hour mark. So we'll wrap things up for today. We'll get all this figured out by the producers. They'll get us the information. The producers will figure out if any team has ever beaten all the cat teams in the NFL.
Absolutely.
If and or when the Brewers were ever in the National League Central or
yes, sir.
American League Central. Good God.
Right. They got their work cut out for them.
Yes, they do. So we will talk to you next week on the final episode of the month of July.
Rest in peace, Lil Penny.
Yes.